Hello folks, and welcome back to another Basic Foodie UK video. Today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm going to compare three products of the same type made by the same supermarket. And the three I'll be comparing today are lasagnas. I'm going to see the difference between the cheapest, the mid-range, and the most expensive item. Now the costs here vary massively, so I'm really interested to see what the difference is. Now these are all made by Sainsbury's. Don't be confused by the Stamford Street Food Company label here. This is just Sainsbury's own brand budget name. On the right here we have the Taste the Difference lasagna. In the middle we just have their regular lasagna, and on the left is the budget lasagna. Now as I said earlier, these all vary wildly in price. The Taste the Difference lasagna was £4. The mid-range lasagna was £2.80. And believe it or not, the Stamford Street Food Company lasagna was 85p. So I'm really very intrigued to see how this one compares to, well, any of the other two really. I mean, 85p versus £4, I really do expect this to be a lot better. So the Stamford Street Food Company lasagna is only frozen, so you find this in the freezer. The other two, they're both found in the fresh chilled section. First up, let's have a look at the weight, and they are all 400 grams, which I'm surprised with actually, because I would have just assumed that the cheaper one would have weighed less. I thought it wouldn't have as much stuff in it. But no, they are all 400 grams. I mean, 400 grams of what exactly? Well, that's where the differences might come in. So let's take a look at the cheapest item first. The description says pasta sheets layered with a beef and tomato sauce, topped with white sauce and grated cheddar cheese. I'm really praying that this does actually contain just beef and not horse, like these sorts of things did a few years ago. It gives you two options for cooking. One is oven and one is microwave. Microwave is obviously a lot more convenient. It takes a lot less time to cook. However, I'm going to oven cook all three of these to give them the best possible chance I can. Not sure about you guys, but I massively prefer things like this when they're oven cooked. Particularly things like lasagna, because you get that nice crispy, cheesy topping, which you wouldn't necessarily get in the microwave. It'd all be quite sloppy. If we pan down to the ingredients, well, the main thing I'm interested in these three is the meat content. As they're all Sainsbury's products, it's quite good actually. They all contain British beef, and in this case, the cheapest one contains 33% beef. Usual stuff like tomato puree, onion, tomato juice. But yeah, I'm actually quite surprised with this. I thought we would see some really interesting and questionable things in the ingredients as it's so cheap, but it's not really. You've got things like, you know, garlic puree, basil, salt, onion powder, oregano, you know, generally things that, you know, don't look too surprising. And on the bottom here, it gives information on the cheese amount and type. So it's mature cheddar cheese is what they've used here. I'm not sure the Italians will be particularly happy with that. But yeah, nevertheless, mature cheddar cheese, presumably that's the stuff that is grated over the top, which is 2.5%. And finally, the nutritional information for this cheap one. Per pack, it's 420 calories. So not a massive amount. But yeah, the only red traffic light is the saturates. Although the calories aren't that high, definitely not one to have if you're on a diet. But apart from the front, I mean, there really is nothing really to note about anything else. You know, obviously we've gone through all this. The rest of it is just pretty bland, just a copy and paste of everything else that's on the front. So, pop this back in the freezer and we'll have a look at the labels from the other two. And coming in the mid-range, we have, well, just their regular beef lasagna. No budget names or anything needed on this one. It's by Sainsbury's. At the top it says it's Italian style as opposed to a classic Chinese style lasagna or a classic Australian style lasagna. They want to make sure that everyone understands it's Italian style. I don't know why they've done that, because it's not made with Italian beef and also is topped with cheddar. And I reckon if any Italian dared put cheddar on a lasagna, well, they'll be banished from the country. So not quite sure why it's called Italian style, but there you go. Makes it sound a bit posher, doesn't it? This says made with a rich British beef ragu and topped with cheddar. So the description certainly sounds a lot posher than the cheap one. And so does the picture, to be fair. I mean, you've got bits of greenery on the top of this one. Very nice. It also mentions it has an improved recipe, so anyone's guess as to exactly what the difference is doesn't say, but it is improved, which is good, I guess. So moving on to the back, and here we can see the full description. They say it's British beef and red wine ragu sauce with sheets of egg pasta, bechamel sauce and mature cheddar cheese. And just taking a little look at the ingredients, it says British beef 23%. Now this is a huge surprise because I'm not sure if you remember, but on the Stamford Street Food Company budget brand, the beef content was 33%. So they're charging you nearly 3 times the price, but lopping off 10% of the beef content. I mean, it wasn't high to begin with in the other one, 33%, but 23, that's just, you would always expect more, a higher beef content in things that cost more money. So that's really shocked me. But again, moving past that, nothing else really that surprising or stands out. This one does contain red wine, 4.5%, carrot, onion, but again, nothing in the ingredients here look particularly dodgy. You've got the usual stuff, tomato passata, carrots, onions, mushrooms, tomato puree, mature cheddar cheese. This one contains 2% mature cheddar cheese. And again, if you remember the budget version, that was 2.5%. So again, it's less than the budget brand. Overall, the ingredients look more posh. However, I am still very surprised that the beef and the cheese content is less. You're paying a lot more for this. I would expect that the beef and the cheese would be more, and you would also get the posh ingredients as well. I suppose it all comes down to the taste, but again, a little disappointed this contains less beef and less cheese. Apart from that, you've got the traffic light system on the nutritional information again, which is handy. This pack has 492 calories per pack, so a little more than the budget. That had 420 calories. So off the red here, you've got saturates, similar to the cheap one. This contains 41% of your saturated fat intake for the day, which is very, very high. It's more, again, than the cheap one. The cheap one, looking at this, seems to be a bit healthier as well, as that contained only 35% of your daily intake of saturated fat. But never mind, another red here is salt. This contains 33%. Again, higher than the cheap one. The cheap one only contained 30% of your daily salt intake. So, I don't know, it's not looking good for this one. It might taste better, but I'm still annoyed that it contains 10% less beef than the one that costs 85p. Anyway, we've got one more to look at, which is the posh Taste the Difference one. And here it is. Taste the Difference lasagna with slowly cooked beef and pork ragu. Very nice. Look how posh that one looks. Look at that fork. It says it's free-range egg, pasta and a creamy bechamel sauce. So in terms of the packaging, certainly looks more appetising. Here it says contains UK beef and pork. We'll turn it over and have a little look at the ingredients and bits. So the full description says British beef, British pork and tomato ragu with layers of free-range egg pasta topped with creamy cheese sauce and Parmigiano Reggiano DOP cheese. So no cheddar this time. And just having a closer look at the ingredients, looking at the meat content on this one, you got British beef at 17%. But remember, this also contains pork and it contains 11% pork. So overall, this has 28% meat. I am absolutely stunned that the cheapest item, the one that costs 85p, remember this costs £4, the one that costs 85p has the highest meat content of the three. So yeah, just really interesting. You know, you don't know these things until you compare them, I suppose. Let's see what else we've got here. Yeah, it's got things like cooked free-range egg pasta, other usual stuff, tomato, onion, red wine at 3.5%. Now the mid-range lasagna had a red wine content of 4.5%. So again, this is less. I'm not sure why it's not at least the same. I know that more doesn't mean better necessarily in all cases, but I don't know. I just would have assumed that it would have at least been the same. At least the meat content on this is higher than the mid-range one. It would have been brilliant if this had the lowest of all meat contents. But in fairness, it does contain other ingredients which probably do cost quite a bit. Like I said, it contains Parmigiano Reggiano, so proper Italian cheese. It also says here it contains regato cheese. Never heard of that before, but it sounds posh. Also has things like double cream in it, which sounds quite good. Red wine vinegar, rosemary, demerara sugar, oregano, porcini mushroom powder as well. And of course the all-important bay leaf. So again, overall the ingredients, when you read them out, they sound, again, another level posh. But I guess it kind of ruins it when you know that this has less meat in it than one that costs 85p. When you remember this is £4. I don't know. The posher ingredients don't really make up for the fact that it contains that much less meat, and I'm sure this will taste better. I just wish it, I don't know, at least matched the others in terms of its meat content. Having a quick look at the nutritional information. Per pack, this has 547 calories, so by far the most calorific of the three. 3 reds on the traffic lights on the nutritional information. The budget one had 1 red light, the mid-range one had 2 red lights, and this one has 3. So I guess that is kind of continuity for you. The fat is red. This has 37% of your daily intake of fat. Saturates 53% of your daily intake in this one little lasagna, and salt 35% of your daily intake of salt. So yeah, again, to be fair, none of these are going to be healthy, are they? I mean, they're probably loaded with, you know, carbs, pasta, cheese, all that kind of stuff. But that's not the point of these. I'm not looking for the health benefits. To be honest, I'm more interested in what they contain and what they taste like. So let's have a look at all these 3 now, bare, out of the pack, so we can see what they look like. Alright, so here they are, all out of the packs. I want you guys to look at these 3 and guess which one's the cheapest, which one's the most expensive, and which is the mid-range. No cheating or skipping forward. I want you to seriously guess which one of those costs 85p, which costs £2.80, and which costs £4. Put your thoughts in the description because I'd love to know what you guys think off the bat. Well, I'll do the big reveal. So, well done if you got it right. This one was the cheap one. Stanford Food Company, whatever the hell it's called. This one was the mid-range one. And this one was the most expensive. Not a great deal in difference in the appearance, to be honest. They all kind of look the same. You can tell that the cheese on the most expensive one is different than the other 2. You can tell these are just sort of grated cheddar. This one, if you've ever grated things like Parmigiano or anything like that, it looks a bit, the texture's a bit different. And I can tell that on this one. But apart from that, all much for muchness, really. Enough of me waffling on now. Like I said, I'm going to oven cook all these to give them the best possible chance. I don't know how good it's going to look sped up on the camera. I'll film it. If it looks good, I'll include it. If not, then I'll cut straight to me getting them out and having a look and see what they look like. Okay, so here they are, all cooked and ready to go. On the left we've got the cheapest 85p lasagna, in the middle of the range, and on the right the ultra exclusive premium best £4 taste the difference lasagna. So I guess initial impressions from these three out of the oven, well these two, they kind of look the same, they both look very nice. The cheese has gone nice and crispy and melty and gooey on the top, it looks very appetising. The cheap 85p one, well, yeah, it kind of looks a bit sad. It probably looks the most different from the packaging. These look fairly similar to what they look like on the box. I don't see any kind of crispy cheese pellets on the top of this. But again, the proof is mainly in the pudding and in the tasting, so let's get these three out. We'll pop them on a plate, give them a try, and see what's what. So I've got them all on the plates as best as I could. We've got the cheapest, mid-range, and the most expensive. The cheap one was quite difficult to get out of the pack because the packaging wasn't square. So when I tried to use a spatula with the round corners on the packaging, it didn't really work. So it came out like that. The other two, however, quite straightforward to get out. The packaging was rectangular, so my spatula sort of went in quite easily, managed to get the whole thing out, and looks quite presentable. Right off the bat, you can certainly see distinct layers of pasta and meat with the more expensive two. The cheaper one, however, sort of looks like slop. I'm sure that it wasn't helped by the fact that I couldn't really get it out of the pack properly, and it looks like most of the filling is on the side and not within the actual lasagna. I also reckon that this one probably would be the only one of the three that might actually be better off microwaved. I was thinking about this crispy cheese on the top, and maybe that's because it was oven cooked. That might not have happened if it was microwaved. Maybe this one was designed more for a microwave, and certainly these two for oven. In fact, the most expensive £4 one, you can only oven cook it. You can't microwave it. It's going to take 35 minutes to cook at a minimum. However, these two you can microwave. So of the three, I mean, it's keeping to the price point in terms of this, in my mind, certainly looks the worst. That kind of looks, to be fair, that actually looks really good. But that one does look better than that one. However, let's give them all a try back to back. I'll start with the cheapest. I work my way up to most expensive, and we'll just see what they taste like. So, starting with the cheapest, I'll take a bit off here, and to be fair, I'll take some of the filling as well. Try not to drop it everywhere. See what it tastes like. So that tastes pretty good. Not a huge amount of flavour, mostly tomatoey. Obviously you've got a hint of beef, and the white sauce is quite prominent as well. Definitely lacking something. I mean, it tastes fine, but just a little bit too bland for my liking. At the very least, you could do some more seasoning. But other than that, I mean, it tastes fine. It's not offensive, doesn't taste bad. Could just do with like a little bit more flavour, just generally. It just tastes like it's missing something. Anyway, let's go on to the mid-range. Well, that certainly tastes more rich than this one. Overall, just has more flavour. I can tell that there's certainly more sort of seasoning in it, whether that be the herbs or whatever it is. Certainly has more depth of flavour. And actually, with this one, I can taste the pasta. It sounds weird, but with this, kind of tasted bland. It wasn't really anything to highlight or kind of any kind of flavour that I could say, oh, it tastes good because of this particular thing. But with this one, definitely more rich, but you can really taste the pasta, it kind of tastes like they've used a better quality pasta. It tastes more meaty, which is weird because it has the lowest meat content of the three. There's certainly more going on in this one than there is in that one, that's for sure. Now, let's try the most expensive, £4 Taste the Difference lasagna. Oh wow, yeah, that's really good. A stark contrast between the other two. It has a really nice meaty flavour. Again, it has beef and pork, which is really good. I think that's quite traditional. I think the pork is a more moist meat and it sort of gives it a new element. Really good. And also I can taste the red wine in this one. I mean, this one also contains red wine. 1% more, in fact, than this one. However, I can taste it a lot better in this one, and I'm guessing it's because it's a better quality. The overall flavour of this one is a stark contrast in terms of the meatiness of it, the seasoning, all the different herbs and things like that. The bechamel sauce tastes really good. I mean, the cheese on this is amazing. You can really taste the cheesiness. I think that's probably down to the different types of cheese that they've used. Remember, these two are only cheddar cheese. This one has also, I think it has 2 Italian cheeses in it, Parmigiano Reggiano and Regato cheese. I'm not actually sure if Regato cheese is Italian, but it sounds Italian. But no cheddar here, and all the better for it. It tastes a heck of a lot better. So, in fairness, in terms of the price difference, I know this has the highest meat content and the highest cheese content of the three. But weirdly enough, in terms of the flavour and how it tastes, it does actually get better the higher up the price bracket you go. Now, this one again is 85p. This one is £4. Is this one over 4 times better than that one? I'm going to say no. I would rather have 4 of these in my freezer than 1 of these in the fridge. It does taste a lot better, but the difference in price is ridiculous. And I really don't think, although this does taste better, I really don't think it warrants the extra money. That being said, I bought all of these full price. I'm imagining that these two are regularly on some sort of deal. I've never seen the Stamford Street Food Company brand on a deal. I mean, how much cheaper can you really get it? It's 85p. I do quite regularly see these on a deal. If they were on a deal and they came down in price a bit, yeah, maybe you could reconsider and think, do you know what, it's worth the extra bit. I mean, the flavour from the mid-range to the low and from the high to the mid-range, they're all a big jump up. So it's not like they're all roughly the same and they're charging you different amounts for it. They are different. However, if you're paying full price and you haven't got cash to throw around with, like I don't, then it really is an obvious choice which one to get if you're purely looking for value. It's going to be the 85p one. It contains the most meat, the most cheese, it tastes pretty good. Fair enough, it needs a bit more flavour, so put a bit more salt and pepper on it. That'll sort that out. I wouldn't really recommend getting this unless it was on a deal, and likewise this. I mean, I think these are way overpriced. I mean, £4 for one lasagna. I mean, even £2.80, it's quite expensive, isn't it? I mean, compared to 85p. But if they're on a deal, or they're reduced, because they're going out of date, whatever, you'll be very happy with these. To be fair, you'll be happy with any of them. This definitely tastes the best. That definitely tastes the worst. The difference in price is huge. Go with what your budget can afford. With how good this tastes for how little money it is. And for me, off the three, the winner has to be the cheap 85p one. If it contained 5% beef, 1% cheese, you know, and 94% other stuff, well, I might reconsider. But the fact this has come fighting with the most meat, the most cheese, wins it for me. For 85p, you really can't go wrong. You'll be very happy. So I'm going to finish these three off with the misses. If you've tried any of these, let me know what you thought. Pop your comments down in the description. Also, any other tips to sort of save money in a supermarket when it comes to this sort of stuff, I'd be very, very interested to know. So please do also pop them down in the comments. Or any ideas that you have for a future video. If you like this sort of thing where I compare 3 different price brackets of the same thing from the same supermarket, I'm very happy to keep that going. There's probably lots of stuff out there that I can do from different supermarkets. But all that's left to say is thank you very much again for watching. Really do appreciate you tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I do this roughly once a week. I try and find interesting things to do, and I'm always eager for any recommendations or any suggestions that you might have. Every subscriber I get, it really makes me very happy, and it really does sort of spur me on to go on and do the next one. Thanks for watching. Really hope you enjoyed the video. Please consider subscribing if you haven't already, and also press the like button if you enjoyed this one. We'll bring you another one again very shortly.